Batra Daf Amud Aleph. Last line. The Mishnah mentioned that if your wall fell down, you cannot put it back up if it's within 4 amot of your neighbor's wall. And the Gemara says, "V'kama hechik samich." How was it there in the first place if there was no distance? Gemara says, Mishnah is not saying that it was there already, but rather if you want to put it up. If you want to put a wall next to your neighbor's wall, you can put it up. Unless you have 4 amot gap. But then the Gemara asks a question. But bomb question. The Mishnah clearly says that the wall was there. If your wall is near your friend's wall, you have to make sure that it's 4 amot if you want to rebuild it. Rather than saying as follows. If someone had a wall near his friend's wall 4 amot away, then I found that it fell down, you can't replace it unless you put 4 amot in between. Why? My tama. Because if the person has a wall, he wants people to walk by and shredding near his wall. That shredding will strengthen the dirt and the strength of the wall. That's why you need a gap for people to walk by. Rav says that only applies by a wall near a garden. Because the guy's garden is on one side, no one's walking there because all things are growing. Other side, he wants people to walk by to strengthen his wall. By a courtyard of a wall of a chaser, a wall of a courtyard in Balas Mos. If you want to put a wall there, you may do so because since it's a courtyard, people are going to be walking by. You don't need that other side per se. Says does make a difference. Garden or courtyard in Balas Mos and you can never do it. Rab said that only by a garden, but not by a courtyard, is referring to an old town. The wall for a courtyard by an old town doesn't need people to walk there because it's been there for a long time. Says that even by a courtyard wall needs treading. That's referring to a new town because that needs the treading to strengthen the walls. How do you know if someone builds a wall opposite the windows of a neighbor? Ben Milad, Ben Mata, whether it's above or below, Ben Mikinek down or directly across. Arba Amot, you have to have 4 amot. Vathanila, we learned it over there. Milmala Kadesh, the reason why you want it for the windows 4 amot higher is because we don't want people to be on top of the wall and peek down. You need 4 amot lower than the windows because you don't want someone to stand to see. When we connect down to the appeal, we don't want the windows, the door, the wall to be directly across from the windows because you don't want to darken the house. Now the Gemara says, Tamash, I feel it sounds like the only reason why you can't have the wall next to the other guy's windows wall is because you don't want to darken it. But we don't care about the treading walking by. Question against what we just said. Hachamasim says no. This is talking about a wall that is coming at a T, perpendicular. And therefore, only a tiny part of that wall is going to be inaccessible to walk by because that other wall is coming as a T perpendicular to that wall. And therefore, people could walk around the entire area. And still, the kama, what type of distance is referring to? We're worried about that space, the around the tefach size, that there shouldn't be blockage by the window. The Gemara says, okay, that's the case that you need a tefach away distance, so the light comes in, but then you could go on the wall and look down. It's referring to where it's sloped, therefore you can't stand and lean on it. And the sloped walls also stops the Secret Service. If you know, you know. But our Mishnah says, Arba Amot, the Mishnah says they need 4 amot, okay, not just one tefach. The Mishnah says, when it's the walls being on one side of the window, then one tefach is fine. But in the Mishnah where he said you need 4 amot, this is referring to the two walls being built directly across from each other. Therefore, you need full 4 amot away so that you don't have blockage of the light. Tashma. Elsewhere, a wall must be 4 amot away from the gutter of your house, of the neighbor's house. This she is okay with slums, so he has space to put up his ladder in case he needs to clean out his gutter. So we see, Tama, Mishum Salam. The reason why you need 4 amot for the ladder is not because of treading. You can have houses that have a slanted roof. It's overhanging and the gutter's on the slant, right? It's on the overhang. and therefore people are still walking under. So yes, you need 4 amot from the guy's gutter, but the guy's gutter is not directly above his house per se. It's 10 amot from the house, and therefore people are still walking by. So you still get that treading that we require, and you still have to give 4 amot for the gutter. Like we just said it, because if you're worried about treading, people are already walking back and forth underneath without an issue. No Mishnah. Someone has to put a ladder 4 amot away from your neighbor's birdhouse. Because you don't want like a rat or a weasel to use the ladder to kill the birds. But you have to also distance a wall 4 amot from the gut of your friend, like we just said, so he has space to put his ladder to clean out his gut. Now, the Mishnah said, maybe our Mishnah is against what Rav Yossi holds. Because Rav Yossi, Ha'amar, he says, regarding roots and planting and pits, he always says, you do what you want on your own property. Our Mishnah seemingly does not let you do what you want on your own property. You have to be worried about the other guy with his roof. The Gemara says, I feel even Rav Yossi will agree with us. Rashi says, Rav Kahana used to say, Rav Yossi would agree that when it's your arrows, your actions are causing damages. When you shoot an arrow, even though it's not you yourself attacking, but it's your cause, he would agree. Also over here regarding the ladder, Zimnin, as you're placing the ladder there, you have to have a hood of the kofsa, the rat or the weasel will jump on it and kill. Therefore, it's like your fault. Rebbe would agree over here. The Gemara says, what do you mean? It's not direct. An arrow, I shoot it. Over here, I'm not putting the rat into the birdhouse. The Gemara says, this is teaching us, the Mishnah teaches us, indirect damage through indirect damage is a sword, right? So even though you're not throwing the rat into the birdhouse, but you're causing the rat the ability to go in, you're still hayat. Yosef have a little planet Yosef had these small date palm trees. And these the bloodletters of the city would sit there and draw people's blood there. And the crows would come and start drinking the blood that was on the floor. Then they would go up to the trees of the dates and ruin the dates because they were covered in blood. Mar says to them, stop these birds from coming here. Draw blood somewhere else so that the crows don't kill my dates. Amalei says, it's indirect damage. Amalei says, oh, we know just before the Mishnah teaches us that indirect damage by damaging is asur. It says, but hold on a second, they have a hazakah. These guys established the right to do it because they've been doing it for 3+ years. You can't just stop them now. Amar Rahman and who's just hazakah for damages? If someone's damaging you, even if they've done it for a while, you can always stop them. But we said, hold on a second, that only applies to that only applies to smoke. Someone has burning stuff outside your house, you can stop them even if you've been doing it for a long time. As he said, it says that you can always stop someone from building an outhouse near you, even if it was there for a hazakah 3 years, you can stop them afterwards. We see, however, any other case hazakah can be established. So these bloodletters should be mutar. He says, I'm very delicate and I get nervous very easily and discomfort. Therefore, I get itchy just like the smoke in the outhouse. This thing gets me itchy and therefore no hazakah, no mishnah. Distance your birdhouse 50 amot from the city. And a person should not make a birdhouse in his own property unless he has 50 amot of land belonging to him in each direction. But the reason is, both cases, you don't want your birds eating something that is doesn't belong to you. Therefore, it should be 50 amot from the city and 50 amot of your own land should be around the birdhouse. The Riddimer says, you have to have 4 cord, you only have 1 cord each direction, because that is how long the dove will fly. However, if you bought the birdhouse from the previous owner, and it wasn't a full kav, a full core, even on its tenant property, you can remain there. So if the previous tenant guy who we bought this birdhouse from had rights, even though it wasn't the correct size, it was much smaller, you bought it from him, you get those rights, you get that hazakah that your grandfather did. The Gemara says, "Hamishina Mavet Log." 50 amot. Only these birds fly, not more. But when you vestira, and porsin ishbin leonim. You should not put out traps to catch doves. Unless you're 30 ris away from the nearest settlement, which is a long way. Because otherwise, if you're near the other settlements, you might be capturing someone else's bird. So regardless, we see from here that these doves travel 30 ris, much more than 50 amot. This is like 8,000 amot. The Gemara says, yes, they could fly farther. The reason we have 50 amot is because the first 50 amot is what they eat from. That's why, if you're regarding food, your birdhouse has to be 50 amot away from other people's property. But they only fly 30 ris and not more. But time, Brother says, will be a shuv and is settled there, yeah? So you can't set out a trap for even 100 meal. So we see that it's 100 meal, not just 30 ris. All right, so make up your mind, how far do these birds fly? I guess the Marbi Yishuv Karenim over there is referring to vineyards, the Rav Marbi Yishuv Shalachin is referring to places with a lot of birdhouses, that if there's places for them to settle by the vineyards and the birdhouses, they could continue going on much farther. But if it's not, then they're limited to 30 days. The word is okay, but if that's the case, then you can't put out traps. If there's other birdhouses there, then you can't put your traps there because of other birdhouses. Why do you have to say it's 100 meal away? Where it says either the aim of the day, the answer is either first of all, maybe they all belong to him, all the birdhouses belong to him, and therefore you have to wait past the 100 meal, which is past all the birdhouses. Or they belong to a Kanani and non 613, and therefore if it's caught, you can keep it. Or if they don't belong to anybody, that is okay. Next, Rabita says if you have the area of a 4 cord, all around, that is when you can have a birdhouse there. This sounds like this sounds like that we claim for the buyer and we claim for the inheritor, the heir, right? Because we said that the buyer, in general, person hazakah. Hazakah means that I've been here for 3 years and I bought it from you. I have to claim that I bought it from you. Now, what if I sold it after 3 years? The buyer who bought it from him, let's say he gets accused. Hey, what are you doing in my property? I say, and the buyer says, oh, I've been here for 3 years already. I don't have to prove that the guy who I bought it from, who was there for 3 years, bought it from you. Meaning, if Reuven goes over to Shimon and says, why in my property? He says, I've been here for 3 years. Why? Oh, I bought it from you. Oh, okay, fine. That's separate. However, if Shimon says it's Levi doesn't have to prove that Shimon bought it. We as Betin say he has a hazakah and he bought it from Shimon. It must be Shimon bought it from Reuven or whomever. So we say Betin says that on behalf of the buyer from who he bought it from. But Shimon should also do it for an inheritor. The Gemara says, okay, but like inheritor, if the kid inherits from his father and his father did the hazakah and someone claims something, we don't have to get the kid testifying that his father bought it. We just say that the father must have bought it already. So the Gemara says, okay, we have a Mishnah that already says that the inheritor, we claim for the inheritor. Someone's claiming property by inheritance. You don't have to plead, you don't have to prove that he bought it, the father bought it. So how can we do it again? The Gemara says, no, our Mishnah teaches us regarding the purchaser. That's why we mentioned it. This over here. Okay, now we have Mishnah also by a purchaser. Someone bought a courtyard, and above the courtyard, it sticks over the Reshut Harabim. It stays over Chazakah, and if someone wants to buy it and people complain about it, it's too late. Even though the beams are sticking out over the Reshut Harabim, you can't complain. So we see that we claim for the buyer and we claim for the inheritor. So why I've mentioned it, the Gemara says, we both cases. We mentioned the case of Reshut Harabim regarding the ledges that sticks over Reshut Harabim. Maybe you might think that the guy put the wall into his house and built the extension above it. Or maybe the people of the public were mochel them, they let him do it, and therefore that's okay. In the case of the birdhouse, that might be hurting someone else's law, maybe we don't automatically assume that it was previously bought beheter, and maybe we should do more investigation. And therefore, we have to teach us that no, we assume that it was done legally. We mentioned in our case, the cave in Diachidu, maybe the case of the birdhouse is because it's one guy. Maybe the birdhouse guy paid off the neighbor, and that's why it's fine. Maybe the guy just gave him permission. Maybe regarding the public with the ledge hanging over him, maybe how could he have who said he bribed everybody else there? Uman Shafiq, or who would have given permission to? Maybe you might think that he didn't we don't automatically assume on his behalf. Everyone need both Mishnah teaches you that we do automatically plead on behalf of the purchaser. Our last part of the Mishnah said the birdhouse retains his chazakah. We said, one second, we said there's no hazakah for nizakin. We said, oh, if you bought it from the guy and the guy had permission, then you're grandfathered in. The Gemara said, one second, we just said there's no hazakah. Now we're bringing down the source. The only time there's no hazakah by damages is by smoke or an outhouse, which causes discomfort. Amen, amen.